documents. Look, do you remember in the hadith, there's several hadith on numbers of prophets, messengers, and mundir, like warners. Sometimes the Quran will use warners. That don't mean that they was a prophet. They were a warner, which is a high status. And so it mentions 120,000, something like that. And then 300,000, I've seen one. But it's definitely 120,000. Okay. Now, when you see that goes back, the earliest they go back is 2,500 years or a little more than that in their stuff. Or the farthest they go back in talking about somebody, they talk about them like, I guess they might go back, because they talk about them like if it's 2,500 years ago, they're talking way back. So you can see they're talking, historians say 4,000 years, 4,500 years, around that. So China got when you hear about Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, they mention 4,000 years, Hanging Gardens of Babylon and all of that, Well, you can see the people he's talking about, that's the era. And, but like, remember the other program we have on Sundays? What was it? Guides for Better Living. Did you see that one? Oh my goodness. They call it. That one was very good. And the ones that got, what I've seen so far is all of their great people, when you mention their message, it's like Guides to Better, ours is called Guides to Better Living. Theirs is talking about those people that came to teach them those. Every one of the guys would fit into, because none of them are talking against a supreme being, but they use the terminology, even in the commentary that we've studied before, celestial kingdom, or the heavens will do such and thing, Whatever it is, it's not, they said this is a big guy here, but he's piping into the historical flows from heaven and all that. Every message that I saw him handing out would fit right into hadith. And I can see why our hadith say search for knowledge even as far as China. And I'm going to get into cycles for a minute. So I'll go back here and get started. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is historical exposure to human behavior or human behaviorism. And we've always talked a lot about longevity, stickability, and what have you. And we've always hinted that most of our greatest people who we admire, well, if you talk about the two closest to all of us, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they both were killed when they was 39 years old. Even in Jahiliyyah, they talk about, in religion, they talk about the age of prophethood is 40 years. And in the Jahiliyyah, you can't pimp till you're 40. Of course, that's the biggest rule. That's the number one rule. Well, before that, your body's in control of, it's not a hard, fast rule. But until you get certain, because I know some of the biggest boys, they was still kind of young, but at that age, 40, at that time, 40 was an age of maturity and what have you, especially when people wasn't living that long nowadays. But just visualize all the people that they are honoring. They show them when they was a little kid. They show them when they was grown and moving. And they show them in old age. And one of them, it might have been the book of the one on book when they're showing. I just think what they're showing always archives. They're showing. Yeah, and how they honor knowledge. And it reminds us the hadith, one knowledgeable man is harder on the shaitan than 1,000. Some hadith, some way they translate it, ignorant worshippers. It don't mean ignorant, just regular worshippers. They doing everything. Allahu Akbar. They doing everything right, and they not doing nothing wrong. They just worshiping. But one man with hikmah, and that's true. So also the way they have honor certain things and certain people and the family. The ones I listened, I piped into the last couple of days I could see how they got to where they got to and how they classified the last 100 years, 150 years, what have you, the years of shame and what have you. Because that's the first time in all their thousands of years of existence they was running things. Even Kishar Mahbubani, he said that, look, it was China and India all the past. So up to 200 years ago, and that's when Britain had got over in China, and they were in China too, but they was also in let's call it that part of the world. And so when they broke up China and when they conquered India in a certain water, and the way they did India, they just slid in like we ain't gonna hurt nobody. We did the East Indian Company, They just slid in. They didn't come in and we're gonna knock you over. But they looked up and Boss Man was in there. This, what we're dealing with right now, and what we're dealing with right today is a culmination of what we've been talking about all the time, because it's clear everybody can look and see that it's not us been talking about it. And why would we talk about longevity? Everybody you would see was old. Why? Because when you're young, you're just getting you're just getting the feel. You don't have time to go through different stages. That's why they killed Malcolm, and they killed. You could see both of them was in heavy transition. Malcolm in 65 go to Hajj and come back. He ain't calling white folks the devil no more. He's saying, I saw white folks like the ones from over there with the whitest of the white, the eyes the bluest of the blue. And they was submitting to Allah. So maybe if we could get Islam to them, then maybe it might have the same effect on them as it has on these other Evidently, white folks, they can't get no blonder hair than the white folks he saw at Harvard, did they? Or bluer eyes, they just couldn't, because they were European. Okay, anyway. And King, I'm not going to say if, because that opened the door to all kind of dumb stuff. But just look at it like both of them were converging with balance. They was bringing balance, because when King starts off on his journey, he's just too sweet and just too da, da, da. When Malcolm starts off on his journey, he's just too tight and tense, and you know what I mean. And you see both of them because they were getting balance. Boss man says, no, we can't wait. We can't wait because, see, the pressure they was on would produce the balance in a hurry. It's like having a scale and you just dropping big stuff on it, clunk, and on this side, clunk, and produce. You know what I mean? It's not like us that we have a long time. We've always talked about evolution, and now we're beginning to talk about blending revolution and evolution to where, because now the time frame is closing in on us. This is according to our analysis of the time that we're in. You know, but okay, let me. I start this by saying an era of living confirmation. An era of living confirmation. So what is it confirming? When we have the book of documents, the instructions for practical living, and I don't know if anybody saw that one. That's the one we talk. Instructions, we call ours guides to better living. On Sunday, right? Technically, that's still what it is. Guides to better living. Thousands of years ago, they have instructions for practical living. Records of the grand historian. You know, I don't know if you saw that one. This is the great historian. So we got, just what I run across, we got 3 of our key words right there already. You know, we got book of documents, instructions for practical living, guides to better living, records of the grand historian. All of those, you know, we understood. If you want to turn the heat up, it won't hurt a little bit. We could feel the cycles that China as a society went through. You could also see the cycle that they went through in the last 40 years, but it was mainly the last 30 years. If anybody else would have went through from where they was then to where they are now, they would be crazy. They wouldn't be able to, but you could see how they were prepared for this. You know, they were set up for this. And for the Chinese system, I mean, really, after watching what they've been through, like, we're really pulling for them. If they can tighten up Africa, they're not exactly like they was 50 years ago, because it was a loan, and it was just 1% loan, and the Chinese worked harder on the railroad than, excuse me a second. Scam Lackley, is that you? Scam Lackley, is that you? These guys make my day. Because note, they don't answer it at all. But the phone says Scam Lackley, so is this Scam Lackley? Hey, man, how you been doing? Scam Lackley, man, that was a big thing happened a long time ago. Remember that big scam we did a long time ago? and they just paralyzed for a second because they're used to all kind of responses. But they not, hey, scam likely, man. Good God Almighty. I've been sitting here by the phone waiting on hearing from you. So this is my little fun stuff I do, with them. It's not like calling the people and say, is your refrigerator running? Remember did y'all do that when you was kids? Is your refrigerator running? Yeah, it's running. Well, you better go out and catch it. That's pitiful. I'm telling you, it's the same old dumb stuff that passed on from generation to generation. Okay, an era of living confirmation. And I'm going to get into what that means. We're right now, when we hit this one out of the park, we're going to try to hit it out in a little bit bigger way. And everything comes at the right time. But as you know, all we hear about is on the news and everything is over there, and the mean old Putin. Yeah, the people. But just wait. This is great. This what's happening now is super great. I mean, this is like if you was waiting for something to happen that would put icing on everything in just the right amount, just at the right time. This is it, what's going on right now. Number one, this caught everybody. Boss Man arranged most of this. Well, I'm sorry. But it caught him by surprise. Yeah. It's not this stuff didn't just happen. Boss Man had a thing. Look here, we're in the humdrums. The people laughing at us. And then they especially laughing at the poor old man. They're literally laughing at him. And he trying to come out of the humdrums. But that ain't working. It ain't going to work. It can't work. It's like signed, sealed, and delivered. It's like that there's nothing they can do. They've already stuck their foot in it. The smell, but just wait, you got to wait 2-3 minutes now. Everything that we have already said about future events, some of it popped up by Shirun 2 weeks. Well, when we first said it, everybody was, that nigga crazy, Look, they done just blew up all level. Don't you worry about that. Well, this one is so simple, and so. But let's look at the new strategy for America. Number one, the new president is in. We got to figure out how to cure the malaise of the last generation. How to get out of a tailspin. We got to do it quick, but they still in a tailspin, so it's hard to get your bearings. So that is the people that they got around them, but they don't have any real historical. They don't have any Henry Kissingers or anybody like that. Now Henry Kissinger is old and dim with it, but he still has some. Remember what Mahbubani said? He said, Henry Kissinger said, they don't have a strategy. You guys don't have a long-range view. You're doing everything like, off the cuff. Well, here he come in. So what we have to do is stabilize. Number one, we got to get out of Afghanistan. So he comes in, you see what he did. Just packed up and left. That turned out worse than anything that they could have imagined. He been in the back seat ever since. Not to add on to that, the whole world is looking. Not to add on to this is what you do to your friends, that help you. This is how And they got people that was working with them trying to help them more than the government, which don't care nothing about them. Okay? So they come in and they come in tough guys up there in Canada. Wasn't that Canada somewhere where they had the first meeting between China and the U.S.? Somewhere like that. Oh, boy. And they were talking really bad to the Chinese, and that's not part of the Asian culture. You don't talk to people like that. They don't talk to, even, they just don't do that. But here's the U.S. selling wolf tickets. Okay, that backfires. So I'll try to be brief, but they have to have something to get them back in the game. Number one, let's answer the call about Afghanistan and get out of there, and get out as fast as possible. And number two, we got to unload on China. They tricked us, and they tricked us bad. And the only one was watching it and laughing all the time was us. There's nobody else was paying attention to that. Remember the Chinese laundryman stuff? That's what they're doing. Boss man didn't he? No, they're going to look. He had his stamp ready to go. They're going to become a liberal democracy. That's the way it is. Look, I could see it on their face. And they said, no, we've been here 4,500 years and 4,000 big years where and y'all out here, we built a fence around China so we wouldn't have nothing to do with you. Everybody else, y'all been going out invading everybody else. We said, and they say this to China out of all those years, never invaded anyone. They've never invaded anyone. Can you imagine? And the Great Wall of China, that's because of course, we all know, they figure that we're a little civilized. We done had thousands of years, and you guys are kind of barbaric, man. It's going to take you 500, 1,000 years just to wash off the smell. I mean, they wasn't probably being arrogant. They were just saying, man, look, we don't want to be bothered with all of that. We have a war every other month between this kingdom and that kingdom. So we don't want to, you know what I mean, get mixed up with y'all too. Y'all fighting over all kind of dumb stuff. And we can't deal with it. We don't want, the Great Wall of China. Can you imagine people and got their game together? Just think about it. They use fireworks for celebration. Boss man looked at that. He said, oh, good God Almighty. Let's see, you put that in something, poof. It'll pop out. Good God Almighty. Shoot. Since then, boss man ain't looked back. But boss man, this is, the way this thing accelerates is there's an acceleration going on in history. And okay, this is an era of living confirmation. So our evolution is natural, time-specific, and historical. All of the Chinese writing relate to what we would call the Sunnah of goodness. Think about it. And the Sunnah of evil. They're not using the Supreme Being like as God, and we have to look at what do warners and prophets and those people do. Every one of their guys come with that love for family, love for humanity, the celestial kingdom, the balance. One guy is going all over to find the source of rivers, and they're going to destroy the balance, and all the language is religious, what we call religious language. But remember, those guys, the language of their revelation might have been different from the Middle Eastern. They use celestial kingdom. Even when we do the book on Al-Fatiha, it uses celestial kingdom, and stuff like that. But it's talking about God. It's talking about the balance. It's all those things. Nothing I saw in any of those would be offensive to Islam. And then when you get to the religious type of the Tao Te Ching, which I've breezed through it, and then the Eightfold Path that they have, the only ones that's going off the road real bad is the Hindus hating Islam and Muslims. You know what I mean? And it might be them thousands of gods. They even have a monkey god. A monkey was in the houses checking refrigerators to see what yeah, see, and who killed Gandhi? They did. Those are the guys that killed Mahatma Gandhi. Because you can't go to Pakistan and you can't go be friends with the Hindu nationalists. That's who killed Gandhi. Everybody knows the guys just they wasn't getting out of prison, but they killed Gandhi. Okay. All right. But anyway, so our writing speak to the people of our era. So like all of what we're incorporating, we have to speak to the people of our time and our era. And we have to get busy in this right away. So our writings and our other things will begin to evolve. We did a nice sabbatical, a little more than a sabbatical, but we wanted to wait to acquire what we've acquired. We wanted to wait to digest it. Now it's been clicked. See, now we're able to, teach. We're not guessing. Like what we taught before, we wasn't guessing at it. Rules of management guidelines. We knew what we was talking about. You could read it and you could tell that we knew strategic management under conditions. But now we down with the language and we down with the reality and we have stated it. Well, you'll pick it up as we go. In our writings, we should speak to the people of our era. And when we look at other people, what did they have? I was always wondering why Chairman Mao was always talking about longevity and a protracted struggle way out there. A protracted struggle. But I did realize that one of the things that we never had a chance to do was to develop a long-range strategy. We didn't have time to. A lot of the people that were martyred from amongst us were killed in their 20s. And at best, the early 30s. It was nobody. No. In fact, almost everybody. Because if you look at the kid that was around Martin Luther King, they were like teenagers. I mean, the Little Rock Nine, whoever, they were like kids, And the people helping them in the other cities was not the people in their 30s and 40s, their parents, it was the kids. And they're doing a lot of writing and talking about that now. That's why technically Martin Luther King was a kid himself almost in historical times. When he started getting big, he's only in his 20s, right? When he went down to the bus board, not the bus, anyway, yeah. That was 56. Shoot, he was, yeah, he was young. Okay, Malcolm was young also. All of our people, that whole SNCC was from students, so they were young. Imagine if the big people from China, they had all gray hairs and everything. They couldn't hardly walk. When they was going back over their life, they couldn't hardly walk. You know what I mean? The people had to help them get up. They had been there a long time. Okay. Personally, this is one thing that I realized decades ago, over 15 years ago, when I first read Volume 1. Well, there's 5 volumes in Chairman Mao's writings, but I don't read them. I just read Volume 1. That's Volume 1. That's it. The others don't go on into what we're talking about. Struggle is all in Volume 1. All of the other volumes about a special meeting at the Communist Party, googly boogly, and all that stuff. But the struggle is right there. And the thinking, China is a big nation that is weak, and Japan is a small nation that's strong. And the Tanaka Plan, I don't know if y'all know about it, the Tanaka Plan of 1925, that period, said that the Japanese are saying this, the Prime Minister Tanaka, we will use the Chinese people as the backbone to stand on for us because Japan is a little island. But we're going to use them for world domination. We're going to stand on them. We're going to use them. That's exactly what they started doing. So China had to figure out, not Chiang Kai-shek, but Chairman Mao, the Communist Party, figured they were the ones, the Japanese army would be rolling through an area, and China been dealing with dikes and rivers and all that for 4,000 years. They got all them people. So what do? They tear up the river, and they tear down some of them dikes, and they send the water. They know where they're going to send it. In the water, here come the Nipponese coming through with all them cannons and everything, and they get bogged down in water. That's using your environment to continue the rebellion, to bog down your enemy, because you're a big country that's weak. They're a small country that's strong. That was his first analysis. I said, that guy was correct. It's simple. So now, if we're a big country with all these people and all this territory, we're going to run them around in circles. If you were to read Chairman Mao's 16 steps well, I don't read it 50, but anyway, they attack, we defend. You know what I mean? They approach, we circle around. They got the characters, this is what we do. And they ran the Japanese crazy. Okay. Now, China, they on a roll, they trying to make a comeback. They made a comeback. Okay. They come back. In the recent times, they have the crumbling of the Soviet Union, right? Okay, the people that are here, they did the wrong thing with all of them. Number one, if you become the heavyweight champion and you just barely knock the guy out or get the decision. You don't, yeah, sucker, you da 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 da. That's what they did, right? We won bubble gum, you lost applesauce. We won the war. And remember the U.S. had the perfect ability to do anything they wanted in the world. Unipolar, they blew it. They can't blame anyone. They blew it. Same time, they forget about time. And they got old dumb Yeltsin, a drunkard. Then somebody else is moving for position. Whoever it is getting in position, he knew what you did to him. He was KGB. He hated the guy with the little burn on his head, Gorbachev. He hated him. Hate him now. Gorbachev is still alive. At least he was last week. He's old. That boy is senior citizen, muy viejo. So anyway, but you got to look at what Allah gave them their opportunity. They can't blame anyone. They had a chance to do everything. What did they do? 91, they invaded Iraq. And they told everybody. And it was so deadly and dirty how it happened. April Gillespie. What did she tell Saddam? Saddam is asking her. They got TV clips of it. Well, I was thinking about, these people messing with me and talking crazy. We don't have nothing to do with inter-Arab conflict. You can find that. April Gillespie. That means we wouldn't do anything. We don't have anything to do with inter-Arab conflict. That was a trap. Because the Jews, the Zionists, let's always make it clear, the Zionists looked at the Iraqi war machine that was big and huge, and they fought against Iran all that time, and they got all of that. So if you got Iraq and if you got Egypt over there, because the last time they fought it out with Egypt just about whooped them. If the U.S. didn't come in, they would have been whooped bad. So imagine Egypt, Iraq, and Syria moving in on the Zionists at the same time. Hey, man, that's the way it would have went. So what did they do? They're the ones that initiated. Came from two sections. Number one, okay, you guys, I done fought and fixed up everybody for you, these Iranians, and they're in bad shape. Why don't y'all, spread out a little more stuff around so Iraq is the center of the world. They had the highest level of intelligence and all of that, and book readers. It was the center of the world. They were at that time. No, we want our money back. And he's looking at them, you punks want your money back. You've been sitting over there with your fat, lazy behinds, right? And we've been fighting it out here for you. And now you want your money back that you gave us? 50 billion from Saudi Arabia, 33 billion from Kuwait. You want your money back? Oh, just wait. I'm going to the bank right now. And he invaded them, right? That's what the invasion was all about. He got permission to invade them. That's why he never thought that he didn't think. Why wouldn't he get on out if the man had got all them thousands of people over there? He didn't put 400,000 people over there, soldiers. So why wouldn't he? Because he thought they gave me permission to do this. All this other stuff is for the news. The little Kuwaiti girl, daughter of some ambassador, they take babies out of the little boxes, whatever, incubators, and they throw them out and all that's set up. The second go round, weapons of mass destruction. Okay, they didn't forget about that. But the way I view it is right now, everybody is waiting. You give them time to play it out. The Kenyan guy is up there saying, oh, death to Putin, he did, oh, that's terrible. He haven't said nothing about. Imagine at the UN next coming up.
I need to watch it, but I refuse because the title says Kenyan guy gets at Putin.
Yeah, but so you have to watch it. You just be a man. Don't break the TV. Don't break your phone. Just you have to do that. You got to suffer to it. No, I said, boy, you lying mother scrubber, mother, I'll chew you up, but myself. But you got to, no, but here, think about it. But it's not only him, it's a trap. Everybody is trapped. Everybody is trapped. Nobody mentioned. Gaddafi, they invaded Gaddafi, took all his stuff, took his money, and it ain't been the same since. And it caused their downfall because they all now can go there, and then they come into Europe. So now they got 1 billion people in Europe from the Arab-speaking world and the Farsi-speaking world, right? Whatever they meant to do, it didn't work because Gaddafi was not going to let you come to Libya. And the Negroes, king of Africa, and then now they mad at the Negroes. So what are the Arabs doing? They might as well, I kind of believe it, beating on them, keeping them in jail, enslaving them, like lightweight stuff. Because they hated, he gave all our money to them. That's the way they're looking at it. Chad, we'll show you're king of Africa, because that's what they used to call Gaddafi. Because he would give you money. And money helps sometimes. So anyway, this is where patience and longevity, when you have that long view, you're able to sit through all of this. And right now, we can sit through this because there's no way around what's people are already starting. What about weapons of mass destruction? What about the Libya invasion? What about all your sanctions on those people, right? And guess what? Well, what about Yemen? What about, you talk about invasion? Well, the Zionists invaded the whole place and take everything, and you 100% support them. See, all those questions will be asked, and the smart people are already asking them. So you got to let them go. Let them keep on. Let them get way out there with lead boots right out in the middle of the water. And as soon as they step off the boat, they got to go down because they got lead boots on. This is the way boss man is. This is the baboon walking around with big lips and a big old shiny red behind. That's boss man. This is really him. That's the way we view him. Boy, he's just strutting along. And he must don't know it. Somebody told me that, what's the name going to be on there tonight?
The State of the Union.
State of the Union. It's a state of disunion. It's a state of fitna. And he don't know it yet. Because he thinks that stuff is going to work. It ain't going to work. It can't work. No, it's not only not going to work, it can't work. It's already falling apart. But this thing is, we got to have something to get them way out in the middle of the water and then pull the cord. You know what I mean? Okay, they're out there. Everybody got on board. All the dumb African countries, not all of, but the dumb ones have got on the white man's thing. And they haven't said nothing, right? Mean old Mr. Putin. Now, There's a few more things that are unnerving about this for them, not for us. Well, you've never said that about anybody else because there, all of Europe is opening their doors and they're white.
Blonde, blue-eyed and blonde hair. And civilized.
There's all of that language you got to use. Think about it.
All that's getting exposed now.
Yeah, but that's the language they're using. They're using that language. And then they try to catch it. Did I say that? Yes, you said that, homeboy. And it's already recorded. Ain't nothing you can do about it. So you got to remember why we jump up and down and we happy about this stuff before everybody else, because there's patterns. Look, we didn't even know how accurate we was on a lot of things, like Allah exposed to you just at the right time. All this stuff on ancient China, it all has a certain pattern to it. It all explains how can our language and everything else, right, be exactly the same. It's exactly the same. Guides to better living. They call it practical. What is it? Living something or other. Okay. So no, we could almost go home and take a rest, but it's not rest period now, it's work period. It's writing period, it's discussing period, and it's helping people see, like after you hit it out of the park 3 or 4 times in a row and close together, nobody can say you don't know anything about batting. And if you hit the ball every time and everybody else strikes out, and it's all in front of everybody, and you say, well, they just struck out. Struck out how? They jumped right up there and condemned all the people of color coming across the thing. And as soon as the white folks get in trouble, we have plenty of room. Oh, come in, you want something to eat, da-da-da-da-da. It's just ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Other people, I hear some of our brothers they are mad at that. Don't you can't be mad at that. You got to know your blessings are coming through that. Exposure, full exposure. Yemen is fully exposed. You're against invasion? Well, how can your homeboy invade? You're against murder? The man, the Khashoggi, whoever he did, y'all cut him up in pieces and put him in a box or something. Whatever you put him in, nobody knows. You just cut the man up. They can do it because he's your friend. Your friend. Y'all can do that. But Mr. Putin, and see, the message is getting out like, wait a minute. First of all, Americans and people in the West think of World War II as D-Day and Normandy. And by D-Day, by the time they were about 44, it was about 20 million Russians already dead, or 25 million is already dead from that same war. Yeah, and everybody, I'm telling you, I knew the date, I knew all that all along. June the 6th, 1944. 18,000 ships. Some say 20,000, 25,000. But it was D-Day. You could have brought a Russian right up, set him right down there, and we would have had no idea that they was the one that knocked the Germans over. Nobody told us. We didn't have no sense. We just didn't have no sense. And I thought I was a petty historian. I could recite all that dumb stuff. You wouldn't believe it, but I would be hanging on a corner in 1962. We're drinking wine, and I'd be 17. Do y'all know what today is? And the niggas would say, yeah, it's wine day. Hey, it's Greystone Day. You know, it's WPLJ Day, White Port Lemon Juice. That's what we used to drink, white port wine. You pour it out a little bit, or you kill the poison. That means you drink some of the wine out. And you know them little cans, 6-ounce cans of lemon juice? You pour it in there. WPLJ, they call it, White Port Lemon Juice. If you saw the movie Panther, the earlier one, when the guy is sitting right on the basketball court and he has a bottle of wine and he's pouring out the poison. That's the wine. That's what he's doing. Look at the movie again. He's pouring it out. That's the custom of those days. White port lemon juice. It really tastes really good wine, really make it feel so fine. Of course, it was rot gut wine. It was cheap wine. Hell, it was 50 or 60, 80 cents for a fifth or something. It was cheap wine. One time the police asked me, do you drink cheap wine? I said, no, man, I be drinking Greystone. The cheapest wine they have. I'm telling you. Anyway, but we all knew. No, the Negroes didn't know. I'm the only one there out of everybody that know something about our history. The other Negroes, they had no, what is wrong with Hank? Y'all know what the Luftwaffe is? I called it the Luft Papa, not the Luftwaffe. I didn't know, you can't hear good. And in fact, one of my cars, it was a big old 54 Buick. Ooh. Yeah, I used to call it the Luft Papa. I didn't have any idea. The Luftwaffe. But anyway, thanks for growing up. Just think if you get killed early in the struggle, technically you don't know nothing. You don't even know what time it is. You don't have, our people got killed like that way back when. That's why longevity, okay, China, like us, had more time, longevity. Book of documents, that's one. Instructions for practical living, guides for better living. Records of the grand historian. Have anybody seen any words like that? Documentalist, stuff like that. I'm telling you, it's like we wrote it. That's what it sounds like when I watch that stuff. All that is celebrating where we was already at. It's kind of like verifying. It is verifying. And this is their 100th cycle of going through this. And it's our 4th or 5th cycle, but one cycle you get to gain. So I've been through this before. That's why if you watch some of those programs, the recorders of history were they did more crying. The guy that lost his son and all that, they did more crying than in the Art of War and all of that. They was really sad on that. That means that they got a chance. They got a chance to pull. China has a chance. We have to help as much as we can to help straighten out any little funny stuff that slip up on them. But they got big so fast, for them to act like they're acting now mean that they done picked up on a lot of that. And then the leadership got enough sense to not say the Communist Party did this, we that. No, they bringing everybody, right? We didn't just get here last week. Right? Even Chairman Mao is a nice guy, but he studied all of these people, right? They're smart. You can't say they're not smart. And you would have to say, as a nation, they was guided through that experience, which was not counter or anti-Islamic. It was not. It was all, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like, because if you listen, has anybody listened to any of the great Native American speakers that talk about their religion? All of them talk about, you think they're talking about Imam Mahdi, or you talk so and so, he was going to come, he came, we do the certain dance to celebrate, da, 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 da. So well, I'll be doggone. That's when that all that stuff about other prophets and messengers, because the way they describe them is the same way we describe him. The great messenger, the Holy Spirit, Wanka Tonka, is sending a guide to da 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 da. Is that right? So everybody, that with the whole historical process going on, shoot, that 120,000 is an easy number, right? It's an easy number to reach. At first, it sounds like that's a lot of folks coming. But when you look at the whole world, because it wasn't a nation that didn't get them, how could it wouldn't even be fair if the Chinese got guides and the American Indians didn't get no guides. And the guides say the same doggone thing against oppression. Have ideas. Okay. Living record, grand story. Da, 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 da. The Art of War, Confucius, Tao Te Ching, the Buddha, to end suffering, you know. They focus on certain things, but so they made a god out of Buddha, that's all. Buddha ain't never, go ahead.
Some say, look at the characteristics of Buddha, they compare him to Hitler.
Right. Yeah. No.
Certain symbols, they compare, they say they're similar, or actually they're the same person.
That was a little ways off, but these people are so similar that another person, it wouldn't be Johnny Jones, but it'd be the Muga Juga brother. You know what I mean? That did the same thing. You know what I mean? Because remember, you look at all of them. We just happen to be all of a sudden we done got sprung on China because of these things. And we said, man, look at this, what they're saying. Well, all the people's history is like that. That's why the number technically is small. If everybody over here had someone coming, and if everything they built over here, that big stuff, was perfectly aligned up from over there in Egypt to over here, is perfectly lined up with, hey man, there's something going on. My son had a dumb teacher. I took him to Mexico to visit the pyramids. They have pictures of the pyramids in Mexico and all that. And so my son would mention everything that we'd talk about when he'd be in class, if he ever went, once in a while. So my son was telling the teacher, yeah, we just came back from the pyramids in Mexico. And the teacher told him, there's no pyramids in Mexico. So my son was telling him, it looks like a pyramid to me. You know, the guy didn't even know. He's a teacher. He's a teacher. He don't know his pyramids in Mexico. But anyway, let me speed up. We don't want to be here all night. Okay. Those things, the art of war, that was several books on war, but that was seems to be the most famous. And you know, when we use tactics, when we read the art of war and we look at it, we say, man, we've been doing that a long time. You know, with Boss Man. Okay. Strategic depth. now is outlined for implementation. Well, we'll talk about it as we go along. But we'll be writing about this stuff and talking about it and doing it. Carve out specific space for Negroes. Now, carve out specific. Where are we going to fit in all of this? And this goes back to what we talked about getting around and speaking at black colleges and what have you, after we saw the movie, we've been knowing it for 1,000 years, about our brother that was killed in Chicago, Fred Hampton. I gave a lot of speeches with his son, Chairman Fred. Remember his mother was pregnant? Okay, the guy that came out, they called him Chairman Fred, and he goes around and gives speeches and what have you. He's doing all right but the evolution, he's stuck where his father was at that time. He's there. And that's not a bad place to be, but everybody that's doing good is still stuck. They're not like they're not on a rocket ship. They're not moving with the tide. Okay, but anyway, let me, this carve out specific space for Negroes. That includes, if you look around here now, everything physically is done by Latinos. If you look at the trucks right there, them trucks is getting bigger and tougher, badder. Okay, they're doing what they're supposed to, come here and get big. Okay. Now, that mean all that type of work that's been going on, the Negro was groomed for that decades ago, but he got lazy, but now there's a spot for us, and this is not racism, but there's a spot for us. Where can we organize our people? The same place we came to last year. Number one is the institutions at hand. We're already moving in that direction. As teachers, as police officers, gun carrying, police badge wearing police officers. The institutions in America, all the people, the Filipinos, everybody that come here, they lock into stuff. You can see the Orientals got all the stores. For black beauty products, you can't go to no black store and get no black beauty products. Even a few Sudanese opened them up, but they getting more into, they sold them to Koreans, whoever they are. But everybody has a hook. Okay, that's what we have to direct our people. This is a critical, if we're going to get, I'm not talking about our share, if we want to be at the table, like Malcolm said, just because you're at the table don't mean you're a diner. Right? So that's our job. That's our job, and I would say it's the biggest job, and then I would go so far as to say is that we're the only ones that's been here all the time and have acquired, we know the knowledge we've acquired. We know what we was looking for, and we feel it. We understand that. Okay. So the ones that are not dead or getting killed or in prison would be in the schools, be getting educated. They're in better shape because they're on football teams and basketball teams, and they have to walk the class, and they have to do this. So technically, the best of our people now, that's where you would find them. But we have to get them into the institutions in such numbers that they wouldn't do like the people here. I came here and they'd have somebody in the back playing Lord Jesus and all that, and they would be cutting your throat. I said, God, no, how can you be listening to that and doing, I mean, of course I know, but I mean, still, they got Lord Jesus on the roll there, and they cutting your throat. They're giving you a fine, and they're doing, and they following through with all that, and you got to pay that fine. Well, we need to get into the system and make it where the system helps people. That's what a system is supposed to do. It don't harm people. If we can do that correctly, that means that will incorporate us in with everybody else from a position of respect. Here's why. Because if we're the administrators, right, the people know when they're getting a fair deal. If we're administrating the taxes and all of that, right, a person that can't make a payment or something, and you figure out something to help him, they remember that because they needed help. Okay. We don't want to get in position and do the same thing as who does. Absolutely not. But we have to, this is where we got our focus now. We have to sit down and figure out our place. The Filipinos, they come over, they do a lot in nursing. And in Oakland, they're right there in the county building. And instead of black people, you're talking to a Filipino half the time. Why? Because they tell the people, come over and get a job, a middle-class job. You won't be rich, but you'll be 10 times as wealthy as you was back home. Okay? If the Negro eases into these standard middle-class jobs and he throws all that shiny crap out of the window and he starts living a modest life, right? He'll have tons of money. He'll have money to put away. And if it's organized enough, they'll be big. Now, you got to remember, it's easy to say this, but we have to convince the churches. And the churches have preachers. And the preachers, if you get 1,000, I'm sure you're going to find one good one at least, if it's 1,000 of them, right? But if it's 1,000, 500 can't keep their pants zipped up. That's just automatic. That goes with the territory, right? This is normal. We all know that. They refer to the people as my flock. And they compete with each other about their flock, not the Lord's flock, not Jesus' crew or nothing else. Mine. Fiefdoms. Okay, so it looks like an easy job until you start going into the depth of it. Technically, we have selected the most difficult job in history, right? To get everybody to slow down and focus on reality. And this might be the last chance. So the Irish get a little freedom here, they do that, but the Negro, he's still, the world loves him, but he's a laughing stock that the people, they just like Negroes because we're Negroes. And not because we do anything specific good. We do dance. We do keep everybody entertained. But what about now? What about the right leadership now? Okay, we're going to speed up. Strategic depth. Strategic depth means outline for implementation. What are we going to do and how are we're going to implement this? Carve out specific space for Negroes. Strategic positioning. Position yourself for implementation. Like a setback ain't nothing but a setup for a comeback. In other words, you place yourself in a strategic location in order to implement the things that you want to implement. Okay. A lot of it includes public record fundraising, the West self-exposure, the whole Western trap. They sprung it premature, and the exposure with China, Taiwan, and Ukraine, it was a premature exposure. Is it a little heat? Okay, premature exposure. That means the stuff that's happening right now, boss man set it off ahead of time. It's premature. And it's set off in a way to where he'll have another week or another month, and not definitely. But that goes to its end. And then it falls flat. And when one thing they talked about boxing, Charlie was showing, he said, well, you do this, da, 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 da. And then after that, he said, but just remember now, when you run your sets, the other guy is going to come and run his. You know, in other words, you're looking pretty and everything. Like when you punch in the bag, you're looking real pretty. Said the bag don't hit back. He said, when you finish running that set, you got an opponent out there. He's going to run his set. You know what I mean? So, anyway, they're not taking it like they think they are floating on a cloud. We put Mr. Putin in an electric chair. We got China waiting over there. We're going to roll through next week and going to run China crazy and have them make some mistake or something, and we're going to beat them both at the same time. This is stupid. They dealing with people who've had to fight before. The Russians was fighting way back when. And the Chinese definitely been doing this since the beginning of time. Probably over there, probably began in China. Allah knows best. Well, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon ain't but a few miles away. Right? What is it? What's the not Medo-Persian, but what's the doggone? The Tigris and Euphrates, the river that overflow, they got that fertile crescent. Yeah. And the Nile Delta. All of those places that the water come down, make it, they can plant. Da, 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 da. Okay, we'll speed up. West self-exposure. We talked about Taiwan already. But Taiwan's not going to work for China. Just like Ukraine is not working for these people. These people, I don't want to tell you how crazy they are. But anyway, Yemen, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran sanctions, Israel, Palestine, Israelis can do everything they want. All of that now will be explained. You got to explain that. Oh, you said this about us? Well, how did that happen? So the people right now are in a dumb stage, but the way people get woke usually the methodology surprises everybody. Right? Because there's no way that if they knew where it was coming from, they would go out and try to cover it up. But self-exposure is wonderful. That's where we're headed. Now, we have the historical ability to adjust ourselves, our place within the cycle of evolution. Now, that means the wind is blowing, and we can't control everything, but we can adjust our sails to get benefit from the natural flow, the wind of the movement, the wind of history, where we can wind up pretty close to where we want to go. That's evident now. It's not. It don't look like. I'm just saying. I feel that's evident. That's why maybe I'm smiling all the time. Okay, I'm very happy, and the way we go along, I'm getting happier every day because everything is clarifying, re-clarifying. It's the 500th time it's been clarified. And why do we wait to do this? Well, da 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 da. And what about that over there? Da da da. It's all being clarified right now. It's just nice, you know. It's just nice. And it's coming from ways I didn't expect to push on a doggone telephone and look at the thing. And it says the same thing we've been saying, except they've been saying it for 4,000 or 5,000 years. And been doing it all that time, just like what we've been saying. We have to learn it. That's why we can recognize it when we see it. Somebody else might watch that and semi-entertained. They might not understand the sacredness of how they going through all of that and all the humility and what one knowledgeable man meant. They're showing you physically. They have kushu for the knowledgeable man, right? Yeah, that's what they're showing you.
Well, when you make your Allah gives you what you ask for. I mean, you don't know. That's how I look
Right,
at it.
right.
There's certain, it puts you in the right direction to get the tools or the information that you need.
Shoot, hey, you don't have to convince me. Allah be hooking you up. I'm telling you that, hey, that is a good, comfortable feeling. It's just like you in the arms of Allah, just being rocked back and forth, and you just kicking back. You know that you're safe because you're in the hands of Allah. You just know it. That is different than all the success that you can have in Jahiliyyah and all that dumb stuff. That's why everybody that should be a success and they are physically successful are almost in the crazy house, out in Hollywood, everywhere. You don't find no happy people that, so that happened. Big deal. Okay. Instant success. How to handle success and expectations. We have people that are doing this right now. Our allies are successful. Like Iran is successful, is very successful. They're living out the lives of the martyrs and they're not paying that much attention. I mean, what I'm saying is yeah, they living it. They living it. They're actually doing it. And Allah put them in a position, oh, the Yemenis, we down with you. Oh, Hezbollah, we down with you. And then Hezbollah is running across the things and they're reacting the way they should. Just like we didn't respond to physical assaults and what not a weakness, it was out of strength. Hezbollah did the same thing 3 months ago when they assassinated their brothers. Hezbollah can whoop everybody over there, all of them, and then go get extra people. They can still whoop them too. They didn't do nothing because they didn't let boss man divert them. Just like us right here. Boss man can't divert us. His Negroes, anyway, it's not even fair. But it wouldn't have been fair if we'd have not been developed. Then we would have been trapped by that dumb stuff. Now it looks small and stupid, but it worked 95, 8, maybe 99% of the time. It haven't worked on us, and we know it haven't. Soon everybody will know it haven't worked, but it doesn't make any difference whether they know or not, or whether they find out, or whether they read about it and know, or it come from that. Long as the stuff get out, we don't care. We might put somebody else's name on it. Say they wrote this. So it has nothing to do with anything. We have the historical ability to adjust ourselves, our place within the cycle of evolution. So can you imagine that you're picking your place? Well, they say it all the time. The whole world is a stage, so and everyone have to play a part or will play a part. Can you imagine choosing? Shoot, I'm gonna be man, and I'm gonna be. Well, suppose everybody can have the part they want. Can you imagine? That's how life is. For Musa, history is happening, not suffering. It may look from that side that you're on, their life. The life experience that other people have, if they look at what we deal with, they may be just feeling sad. That boy is catching HELL. It ain't like that. You could see it, like you could see it. You could hear it. It ain't like that at all. It's almost, in the church they get the Holy Ghost. I tell you, sometime I'm sitting there studying, and I'll be feeling up. I might want to cut a few things, and get the Negro ghost. Of course, ain't no Holy Ghost in Islam, but it does mention the Holy Spirit, but it's talking about certain things that the Negro can figure out how to make it work if you try hard enough. Anyway, confirmation, celestial kingdom. What they use, the laws of heaven. That's what they use. Premature Hindu nationalism. We are on top of our historical cycle. We have the ability to maneuver our place and situation, it's almost like before, within the cycle. Okay, if we're talking about the place of Negroes in the system, it's because the Negroes as a people are not going to get out and do the work like Mexicans are. They just won't do it right now. They would have did it before. They did it before. That's their job now. So, we like security. That's what we like. That's why we work for the government. Right? We like security. Something we can count on. You go into a business by yourself and see what everybody says, man, you better get that government job and forget all that running around. You're going to be sweating and turning over in your bed, and you're going to be sad. You're going to be, you better not do that. Go get yourself. And we're going to use that. That's where we are. Hell, use it, right? You got to, when you set your sails, you can't set it, I'm going to set my sails against it, I'll win. Just to show you. No. Which way is the wind blowing? We're already there. All of our groups, I don't care whether they Masons or whether they Gasons or whether they flip-floppers, hand slappers, all of that, get a government job, right? So the best of our people, imagine now, we got to hurry up and get them because, see, now it ain't no more money floating around. The white folks going to be backtracking headed in there pretty soon. Yeah. And we want to have be in there where it's enough of us. I'm not even worried about that. I feel that we're going to do that anyway, but we want it to be purpose orientated, not just I'm in there for myself to get, extra meal and bump you niggas, because those people are, some cases, worse than. So we got a big job ideologically. We got to help people arrive at that location. And, okay, value of studies, we've been on the right side of history every time so far. It's two. There's the wrong side of history, there's the right side of history. We haven't been on the wrong side of history, nor have we been paralyzed. Like the headlights is coming and the animals standing there with bright eyes, and they just stand there and get run over by the time and history. We haven't been doing that. We've been working with this all the time. Okay. All right, I'll move toward a close. Value of studies, we have been on the right. We are on the top of the historical cycle, riding the wave of history. I put surfing down there. Like surfing. We're not going to go against, we're going to ride the waves of history. I tell the truth, think about it. That's what we've been doing all along. We're not going to waste time fighting and arguing and what they call struggling. Yes, we're going to do right and good, but we're not going to, if you turn out the lights, hell, leave them out. If you flood the basement, hell, leave it flooded. Ain't going down there and be flooded the basement. No. We got water down there, right? We take a hose and put it through the window over there. If they come here with a $10,000 water bill, we'll get all of this stuff in court. We'll tell everybody our story. There's been some discussions that people want to help manipulate it out there. But they could be nice people and then they couldn't. You never know. But it don't make no difference. It actually, one thing about it don't make no difference. European, popcorn, Kool-Aid, that's what we used to call the Negroes that was in the slick days. That's a popcorn Kool-Aid, nigga. Popcorn don't do nothing for you. Kool-Aid, take one little fingerful, make a whole picture out of it. That nigga there does not have any value. He's a popcorn Kool-Aid nigga. Yeah. You eat all that popcorn, it's fluff. Right? Kool-Aid, you could take, look at here, you could take 1 spoon of Kool-Aid and make a gallon, right? It ain't nothing. And so when we said that, man, that's a popcorn Kool-Aid nigga, that he wasn't nothing. He didn't have substance, European popcorn and Kool-Aid historical presence. That's them. Okay, we'll move toward a close. Subject matter, book of documents. Hey, look at here. Instructions for practical living. Records of the grand historian. Remember, archive, chronicler, historian, documentarianism. That's been our cornerstone since you can remember. Leadership training, environmental restoration, activate Imam Tufail Strategic Command Center. Well, now that we know what it's going to look like, we'll definitely activate it. Dispense justice. Be a healing and a medicine. That's as far as I got. The rest of the stuff is still here, but we did enough for tonight. So are there any questions or comments about anything that was said?
It's actually something you had mentioned about how, or at least you started off the lecture talking about how China's revisiting its kind of cultural and religious history, and you kind of I'm noticing that amongst the groups that are kind of on the incline and heading up, Russia, Iran, China, they're all going through a little bit of a religious revival. Across all three of them.
Yes.
And the West, they just kind of tossing Christianity to the side. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how, your religious identity plays so much a role into a civilization's success. The white man just missed that.
Okay, see, boss man is closer. We're not saying that stuff about the white man is the devil. We're not saying it. No. But you notice everybody else, the more knowledge they get, the more humble they get. If they come in and talk to a great person, they okay, that's us. What I'm saying is that's not us. That's us for this information. That's us for everything we're doing. It don't make us arrogant. And see, I have to give credit to history because I had the opportunity to live through all that, a whole cycle and a half, the whole show. That was, life don't feel like that now. That was traumatic almost. It was traumatic. It wasn't like life now. That was traumatic. But now, when you ask Allah for something, and out of all this stuff going around, Allah give you that which you ask for and your ability to use it in a way that you have a good quality of life. And if you stick with it, you may help other people move in that direction. The other thing is the gift of history. Some people, like Allah give everybody different gifts. Some people, they just get out and kids, and then they be racing with each other, and they realize, wait a minute, I could outrun everybody. Suppose I train doing this. I'll maybe get a gold medal because that's my gift. Other people are gifted with motivating people. Other people are gifted with leadership ability and characteristics. Other people are gifted with certain characteristics that when you hear people say they did that, they're lying because they don't do that. If they said, man, so-and-so run off with Johnny Boy's girlfriend, and he's Imam too. Well, if you know the guy who was 15 years celibate and colored, you would know that that probably didn't happen. Why? Because it never happened all the way you go back. When the guy had a chance to go with everybody's girlfriend in town. He was married. The only one who was married had a family, not the only one, but because everybody had a little family. But I'm saying, when you hear it, that don't fit. That's the thing that some of the people say out there. But those people are not making, inshallah, we're going to help them. But they need a lot of help. They need expert help. The people that they need expert help. And Allah is putting us in a position where we're being able to do that. But remember, it takes a serious combination of a human being, a human structure, a human organization to be able to put all that stuff together with focus and direction and what have you. That is a great gift, and especially then you appreciate that. What was the rest of the question there?
Oh, it was just, how like the West, abandoned their religious identity,
Oh,
caused their decline, whereas, these other groups, Iran, Russia, China, are kind of reviving their religious identity, and it's kind of giving them the rocket fuel to, break out,
oh, they on a roll. Look, we've been talking about China a lot. So they're having a Chinese cultural historical revival based on akhlaq, on morality. You remember all the big great people? They taught straight across ethics and morality. That was their whole show, ethics and morality. Not as much as rituals. Western and type religions and even some Islam, there's a lot of rituals in it. Okay, you do this, you do that, and that. This is a ritual. Okay, so if you look at China, they don't have as many of those type of rituals. If you believe in the celestial reality, then you do these rituals. To them, it's cerebral, mind, and it's ethics. It's practice. You see what I mean? Okay, we've been able to pick that up. How many people are having a class right now amongst the Salafis or anybody else, and they're talking about other people other than, I bet you can't find one of them to associate 100 and something thousand prophets, mundis, messengers, warners, you know what I mean? All of those names mean similar thing. Mundir is a warner. He came to, and the Quran uses those names. So and so he came to warn you. Right? Okay. Some are hadis. They come with hidayah, guide, okay. All of those names, the uphill road, what will make you know what the uphill road is? It's helping someone who's down in the dust, man. Hey, they ain't got nothing to hang on to, and you help them. Okay, those are all ethics. That's where we're coming from. And we recognize other people and we're not dummies. Other people, I'm not saying they're dumb, but they're not looking at the good in other people. They're looking at the title. Those are reds. Those are commies. All right? And those look like Negroes there. They've never contributed to nothing but boogaloo or something like that. All right. So, how have we feel good about this because we're able to associate with humanity. It's not new. Our letters 15 years ago and way back, our letters to the Christian community, hey, we got it going on. We got certain things. Let's work together. We celebrate Jesus, Moses, Muhammad. Let's get with all of these guys. Peace be upon them all, right? And live and let live. Technically, that's what's going to take, because the shaitan is working busy here, and he's happy as he can be. He said they ain't going to pull out of this, but the people that are working against that monster is all the people that we're holding hands with and close to. Okay, so that's the religious aspect. But we don't want religion to get isolated to, remember, ethics is a part of religion. Akhlaq is one of the highest things in religion. Allah may not have sent everybody to do exactly the same thing. So if a certain people, they were sent akhlaqis, Yeah, they were sent ethics teachers, moral teachers, right? And they taught ethics and morals. And when you talk about Tao means the way. When you talk about Islam, it means the way. Right? They was talking the same language. Right? The celestial kingdom. Well, what are they talking about? I read that one way. The Salafis can read it another. They can read it as a hellfire, or whatever they read. But I read celestial kingdom. Celestial up in the sky, beyond the gravitational pull. That sounds like heaven. I'm telling you. Okay. So, hey, man, I'm happy where we are. I'm happy where we are. And we're not going to sell it for $5, $5 million, $5 zillion. I will say this. I had so much money at one time that it's just ridiculous counting it. Made your blood boil, pump. You'd feel it. It ain't like this. It ain't like this. So, hey, everybody can do what they want. I can't speak for nothing but what's running. We reading it, writing it, and talking about it, and it's coming out like that. So we're happy with that. Are there any more statements? Did anybody have some statements about? Because this is not a mysterious time that we're living in. This stuff is really going on. They really sitting right in front of the TV and saying, well, those people over there are uncivilized and we can't help them. But these people are white. Can you imagine them idiots? Huh? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, shoot, Europe, Eastern Europe is opening up their doors. You can come. They're taking people off the train. You want to come on in here? Okay.
But I was hearing, there was one report I saw, this was on CNN though, that Africans that were in Ukraine were getting barred from getting on trains.
Of course, I heard that too.
You heard that too? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you saw it too. All right.
Oh, it wasn't because they was black. They probably just was wearing the wrong color shirt. I tell you, that racism, hey man, is so ridiculous. Now just think about it. The people are waiting back in the cut. They're saying a few things. But see, imagine what this looks like next month. But imagine 6 months down the line. Right? They've already said it. They've done enough already. Nobody needs to do anything else. They've already said what was in their heart. We feel so bad. They ain't said they done bombed wedding parties. Good God Almighty. They ain't no. But these people, you would think they were saints or something. Everybody in Ukraine, you would think they're saint Ukrainians. Saintly Ukrainians. They don't do nothing wrong. They're just nice. And they like white folks. You know what I mean? I guess up there. And they're lighter than, not light as Russians, but they might as well be. They're light. You know where they got Spanish-looking light white folks. And I don't know if you could call Spanish white folks, but we'll figure out something. But anyway, those are, they're whitish. I mean, like, they're not even pink white folks. They're like, literally, they could almost stand up close to paper and look almost the same, They're whitish. And look how this is ridiculous. They can't do anything wrong. It's ridiculous. They're doing it and they're saying it. And they're not checking themselves. Am I doing this right? Am I going overboard? None of that. That's good. That's all great. Forget about the dumb Kenyan ambassador. Wait to rerun this script back in front of them. Man, did I do that? Yeah, you did it. Are there any other comments?
That was it. My brother did laugh about the refrigerator running joke. Go catch it. The brother did laugh about that.
Yeah. I guess some of our jokes are so old that modern people,
Right, yeah.
they haven't heard them. I guess if you're not 40 and over, some of this stuff will go past you. Okay, so
There is a quote from, I think it's Ali, where he said he loves the opinion of an old man more than the opinion of a young man.
oh yeah, no doubt.
There's also a second part or alternative where he says, was the determination of a young man or even the martyrdom of a young man. So that shows the honor that he has recognizing the wisdom.
Hey, everybody else, they get sad at each birthday. I'd be happy. I'd be looking forward to, man, couldn't wait to get 77, and I can't wait to get whatever else is after that. I mean, but there's something going along with it. Actually, they say older people are happier than younger people, generally. Well, when you're young, you worried about everybody else. They like me. They don't. When you get older, you ever see where old people dress? They have a checkered up here, stripes down there. They have two coats on in the summer, and they have all kind of stuff. They don't wear mix-max shoes, but definitely mix-max socks, and they could care less. Why? They don't care about what people think. They may be the beautifulest or the ugliest people, but they've been doing it so long that beauty ain't did them no good, and ugliness don't hurt them. Because all old people look the same. You can't, you know what I mean? They look all old. Right? You can't hardly tell, oh, that was a real tender there. That old lady, boy, that girl there, look. I'll just close on this. When I went by when I was in St. Louis, my aunt had pictures on top of the piano or something. And that was in 81 or 82, 83. I think it was about 83, 84. Now, she was born in 1898. She's my father's older sister. He was born in 1900. And so they had pictures on the piano and stuff about all of them. And I said, man, them girls was fine, like my older. I knew them when they were like 50s, 60s. Yeah, when they was old. When I said, boy, look here. We was in St. Louis. She lived in St. Louis. And we'd go by and see her all the time when we'd go through that way, which was almost all the time. And I looked at them pictures of my relatives when they was younger. Back in the 20s, they had them straw hats on and stuff. I said, boy, my relatives, but everybody's was. When you go into them old houses, everybody was dapper, had them black and white shoes on, you know what I mean, and zoot suits. They had all kind of stuff. They were handsome people. You just know them when that's old granny, Shoot, you look at your grandmother in 1895, that child was nice, and it's good to look at some of that. Anyway, are there any questions or comments or nothing else? Okay, I just got the tax stuff, so I haven't. open them up to see them, but I know what they look like. So several things will be, and all the bills are coming too. So we'll be raising funds, and I think we should get together on Thursday night. Tonight and tomorrow, I'm going to write the new flyer for March. And so maybe we could come back Thursday if it's all right, if it's okay. If not, but we want to figure out exactly where we're going to go. I was saying once a month I would go over to a place over there. PGMA, okay. So I might go over there. So we'll figure out by then. And if we could get 2 teams, because we need. Last week we went to Dar al-Hijra, right? Okay, whoever does khutbah, we have to let the people know that we really, it's fundraising plus. Yeah, it's fundraising plus. Yeah. So have all of our people, all the extras, have they disappeared like or something? I mean, well, the brother, he works, what's the name of that place where they work you to death? Amazon, yeah. So, okay, but he's able to come to Juma, right? Like he was here at Juma last. Yeah, he was. Okay. And the other brother that was hanging out, the minute we started wanting to go out, he disappeared. He disappeared and haven't. I ain't seen, as they used to say, hi to have. And it's just, huh? Well, eventually we're gonna go through and clean out everything. We're gonna the Strategic Command Center. We're gonna hook that up. Okay.